Hey, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. I am your host, Tony Lindsay. The name of the show is currently We Need to Talk still. I'm going to be changing the name, rebranding the whole entire podcast. And then you'll start to see the podcast episodes coming out on all your streaming platforms, your podcast platforms. So I just wanted to go live today. Hold on. I don't know if you guys can hear the siren outside, but I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. And you already know New York City is always live out here. It's always something going on. But yeah, so I wanted to just talk about a couple of I guess current events we can call it. Right now I'm streaming live on X, Rumble, YouTube, and Instagram. Even though Meta platforms have me shadow banned, but I'm gonna just go ahead and just keep talking and whatever. I'm gonna do this. I'll probably be on for like maybe 15, 20 minutes, but I'm gonna do this, even though I'm being heavily censored on Meta platforms. On Facebook, when I go live, you won't even see me. So I just don't even bother streaming there anymore. But yeah, but to the people who have been supporting me, I appreciate you guys. I'm currently suspended on TikTok. My account is suspended for misinformation. And what was I doing that led to that suspension for misinformation? I was wishing happy birthday to a friend. So yeah, we're living under a crazy censorship regime right now, and this is just something that we cannot afford to forget about, folks. You know, I know there are a lot of people, whether you support Donald Trump or you don't support Donald Trump, you know, the one fundamental right that we all have is the human right to free speech. And that is still not a resolved issue yet. We saw the level of censorship that we were experiencing under the Biden administration. Actually, it was happening before that. And while there has been somewhat of an opening of the gates for people to be able to espouse their own opinions, and conservative voices have been allowed to talk again, the people who were skeptical about taking an experimental injection, they're allowed to speak now. Even in the midst of all of that, we're still dealing with a lot of censorship, particularly on social media. These big tech platforms are still getting away with it. There's a lot of censorship, even on Google. There's censorship. So there's a huge regime out there in the tech world that is working with the intel agencies to continue to control the American populace and their speech. And you have to also remember, we're also being heavily propagandized. So when you're being lied to constantly and you're not allowed to push back vocally, when your voices are silenced, that is the pathway, a direct pathway to authoritarianism and control. And that's where we're headed right now, folks. Okay, so like I said, you guys, you're gonna probably start seeing me streaming on Rumble more often. I'll be on X. I'll be using my X and Rumble the most. I'm going to use YouTube, but YouTube, as I said, ABC Corporation, Google, they're also heavy on the censorship. So I think it's like 3 strikes and you're out. So it's kind of like, why build something on those platforms when they can just snatch it away from you? But I'll be making an announcement in the near future to you guys about where to catch the podcast and all of the things that we're going to be putting together. But anyway, so right now I'm streaming X, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, where I'm currently shadow banned and my main account is suspended. So there's only a few people watching me over there, but that's cool. So let's talk about it, because one of the first things that I wanted to talk about was I'm sure you guys have been hearing. I wonder if I can pull it up. Hold on. Let me pull it up, because, well, first of all, let me ask you. I can, oh, you know what? I have a comment section here. All right. I can see anyone who's commenting on X. If you comment on YouTube, I don't think I can see. And if you comment on Rumble, so I'll see your comments over there. So did anyone see the announcement where they said that like all of the GOP voted against releasing the Epstein files. I'm wondering if anyone saw that announcement, because I woke up this morning and, you know, I had to go do some work, and then I just happened to like look at my phone, and I saw this big announcement that the Republicans, the GOP, all voted against releasing the Epstein files, and Democrats voted for it. And that sounded really weird to me. And, you know, at first, and all these media outlets have been reporting it, but then I decided to dig a little bit deeper. And so I just want to show you. And I don't know if you guys know Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson, he's a podcaster. He has like a lot of ties to the current administration, and Congress. So he gets to do a whole lot of interviews. So I want to play for you Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has recently become somehow a darling of the, let me not say she's a darling of the left, but the left is starting to, I guess, respect her gangster a little bit because she happens to agree with them on certain issues. But I want you to hear the truth about what happened with that vote, just so people can get the proper context and understand exactly what happened. And here you go. And here it is in the words of Marjorie Taylor Greene herself.
I got to correct something real quick.
Please.
So it's being reported that House Republicans unanimously voted to block the release of the Epstein files. And I want to straighten out the record right now. That is not true. If I could vote, okay. If I could vote to release the Epstein files, guys, you would have my vote. I would vote yes. Here's what just happened. It was a procedural vote, and we have these all the time. It's called a PQ. It's voting on the previous question.
Yep.
And if the Democrats had won the previous question, which I know sounds insane, it's one of these crazy rules in the House that are hard to understand. That means they would control the House floor.
Facts.
And that means they could bring up anything. They could bring up impeachment articles against President Trump. They could bring up a whole package of insane Democrat agenda items and force votes on the House floor on these things. That's what we voted against. We never allowed Democrats to have control of the House floor because we control the House floor.
Yes.
So it's a misunderstanding. And I just wanted to straighten that out. I got to correct.
So it's a misunderstanding, and she wanted to straighten that out. I don't believe that that was a misunderstanding. I think that was an intentional lie. I think that was put out there in order to get people outraged again, to have a new story, something to go with, to say Donald Trump is on the Epstein list, the Republicans bad, Democrats good. Just all of this stuff to get people to continue to be fear-mongered or get people to continue to have this emotional reaction. So there you go. The GOP, the Republicans in Congress did not vote against releasing the Epstein files. As a matter of fact, I'm going to let you hear it from themselves. I'm going to let them speak on their own behalf. So why don't we do that? I'm just going to share a couple of statements from some of the Republicans in Congress, including the Speaker of the House. So let's just start here. Let me see if I can put this in the big screen. There we go.
So Judicial Committee hearing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be
That's
most
Lauren
likely
Boebert.
the committee where a Ghislaine Maxwell would testify. Would you be in favor of that? Or
Absolutely. Yes. Of course, we want answers. No one is satisfied with what has been received or lack thereof. No one is satisfied with the rollout of this. Of course, we've heard that Dan Bongino is not satisfied with the rollout of this either. And, I think you hear time and time again what an honorable stand-up man Dan Bongino is. President Trump, he obviously thinks highly of Attorney General Pam Bondi. I don't know her personally, but I know Dan. And he's a wonderful man, and I have no reason to doubt him. And I think moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into this if we aren't going to be provided information. Now, there's a lot of things that Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing well. Of course, President Trump is doing many things well. The FBI is doing a great job. Our Department of Homeland Security is, this mass deportation machine on steroids, and now they have the funding to go after it even more. But this is something, I hope it doesn't become a false idol to Republicans where we just lose sight of everything else.
Okay, I hear what she's saying, but I don't think Pam Bondi's doing a great job. Just for the record, I'm just going to put that out there. I do not think that Pam Bondi is doing a great job. I thought that this was a shit show, the way that this whole Epstein file thing rolled out. And I know, you're going to get people who say, well, Trump is on the list. Yeah, Trump is on the flight logs, but, we can't be so lazy as to not do our research. It's getting kind of pathetic. And if Donald Trump was anywhere in any sort of incriminating position as it pertains to Jeffrey Epstein and his client list, then I guarantee you that would have been the first thing out in the news. That would have been the first thing when that Obama would have put out, Biden would have put out. That information would have been public information immediately, because as you've already seen, they did everything to try to stop Donald Trump from getting into office. So I highly doubt that if there was this smoking gun on Donald Trump, that Democrats would not have pulled that out long ago. And we're also going to hear from, let's hear from Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. Let's hear from him. All right. Here's Mike Johnson.
Speaker Johnson, this is sort of on the heels of something else that a lot of people are asking questions about. And because we've been lied to by our federal government for so long, I feel like there's some type of there's a pain point, right? And a pressure cooker that gets heated up on issues like the Epstein issue, right? And obviously that's something that's taken over a lot of the online dialogue. But a question here about it that concerns either testifying or testimony for Ghislaine Maxwell potentially before Congress, or if you would support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the release of subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the DOJ, whether you would support either of those.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Marjorie or Anna about that specific subject, but I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, that were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity. And
yeah, this is them realizing that the MAGA base is not going to just let this go. They're not going to just idly stand by and say, no big deal, Epstein, blah, blah, blah. Maybe Pam Bondi should not have hyped it up the way that she did, saying that she had information or she had certain evidence that she clearly did not have. And I think at the end of the day, it made everyone look really stupid. Honestly, when I was watching her doing those interviews, that media tour that she was doing, she was just kind of like just going with it, just throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there. And to me, her body language didn't look right, but I don't know her. But she always kind of seemed like she was lying or she was exaggerating. And then you saw the weird contradictions when you saw what happened with James O'Keefe when they caught her on that, in that secret recording when she was just telling some random person in a restaurant that there were like tens of thousands of files with him with children, and then it turned into child porn, and then who knows what the hell is going on? You know what I'm saying? It's just not making much sense to me. So now let's also talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, because remember, Ghislaine Maxwell, she wants to testify in front of Congress. I think she's trying to get her sentence overturned, trying to appeal this to the Supreme Court. And here's my take. Why not? Because if she got convicted of child trafficking to nobody and there's no evidence, why is she in jail? I say let her out immediately. You see, the problem is, and I know Trump tried to kind of dismiss the whole thing and say, hey, let's just try to move on from that. But that's not going to happen, bro, because This is something that was promised. And clearly, we know that there are people on the left and the right who are on that so-called list. And I don't like the way that we're saying it as a list, right? Because we're presenting it like there's some secret black book out there with the names of the people that were being black. I don't think that's what it is. I just think there's evidence, there's video evidence, there's communications, a lot of evidence that shows the various people, powerful people who were involved in the sex trafficking of minors. And we can't forget everything that we heard. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about like foreign dignitaries. There are a lot of people. Bill Gates, remember that there's a lot of people on that list. And so when there's so many powerful people who will be exposed, you can understand why there is such an effort to conceal some of this information, especially when you think from the aspect of, let's say, I don't want to say blackmail. Well, yeah, blackmail, but because I think of it this way. Well, I probably would just put all that shit out anyway. But I can see the angle where people would say, well, maybe Trump doesn't want to put out all the information because it would pretty much destroy our government as it is. And it would just cause a total upheaval of the world order and just cause chaos with all the people who would be exposed. And maybe it's better for him to hold it in his pocket as a way of keeping certain people at bay, right? As leverage. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong on this. But I see that sort of an angle on this. If it was me, I would put all that shit out there, and we just gonna have to figure out how we're gonna clean it up, because we're right now at a point in history where we're on the edge, bro. Like we're almost there. If you're talking about the fall of the empire. So I just think at this point, just put it out there and let the people decide. You know, that's the problem. They've been ignoring us for so long, and the intel agencies and Congress have been ignoring the American people for too long. They've just been making decisions and doing things without us, without our input. And that's the crazy thing about it. But let's just hear from maybe one or two more. Here's Senator Mike Lee on the Ghislaine Maxwell, her testifying in front of Congress.
You be in favor of Ghislaine Maxwell testifying?
Absolutely. I've posted on this. And if she were to testify, I think she could answer a lot of questions that could help put all of this in perspective.
Yes. Do you have any instincts on what exactly was happening here? That does seem to be the rub, right? I know you know Tucker really well. I know you know Dan Bongino. I know you know a lot of these players. They're not monsters. They want the truth.
Right.
Dan didn't take a 10,000% pay cut, right, to come up here and carry water for the deep state. That didn't happen. Like, I'm telling you, it didn't happen. Right. I know him and you know.
Yeah, I know a lot of these players. Some of them are disagreeing with each other. Dan Bongino and I have been really good friends for the last 14 years, and good friends with Kash Patel and also with Pam Bondi. I like all of them. I think there is a way to draw a straight line between all of them in a way that will satisfy the public's both curiosity and legitimate demand to know what happened.
You be in favor of Ghislaine Maxwell testifying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and we'll probably just do one more. Who is this? Oh yeah, we saw this one already. Was it Tim Burchett? Is that the one that I wanted to play? Yeah. All right, let's play him. And here we go.
If you were in charge of the DOJ, what would you do to restore the faith of American people? Seems to be a big crisis of trust right now.
I would fire everyone there and make everyone reapply, and then they'd have to verify that they could do a job.
Yep.
And what the heck they're doing.
Fire
Because it's just
everybody.
too deep. You know, like I said, Trump comes in first term, he fires the head guy, thinking that'll do it.
Yep.
Not understanding that layer is deep.
Yep.
It goes deep, and the corruption goes deep.
Yes.
And so
What this man is saying is absolutely 100% on point. Fire everybody and start all over. And I think that it should be beyond just the DOJ and the FBI and those other agencies. I say we fire everybody in Congress. We need a clean sweep, folks. These people are corrupt. They're becoming 100 millionaires at our expense. They've been laundering money. They've been lying to us. They've been protecting their own interests, taking bribes. You know, I mean, bro, how much do they have to commit crimes in our faces before we say get them out of here? I've been screaming vote them all out for like the past 8 years now. And that's back when I was a Democrat. I was saying the same shit. Vote them all out. They're corrupt. And that's why the one thing I did relate to when Donald Trump came out, when he first decided that he was going to run, even though I did not support him, was when he said drain the swamp. When he said he was going to drain the swamp, oh yeah, that resonated with me. I was on board with that. And if you're an American citizen, how could you not be on board with draining the swamp? Just because someone is on the other aisle, the other political aisle, does not mean that they're your enemy. You have allowed actually the uniparty to convince you of that by feeding you all of these fake talking points to convince you to hate your neighbor, to convince you that your family member, your uncle from wherever, your aunt or your neighbor down the street or the person at work, that they're your enemy because they don't agree with some of your politics. That's not how I grew up. And I'm oh, look at that. Let me show y'all something. My live was just taken down. Look, let me show you. This is why I stream on Rumble. Let me see if I can show you guys. Live access removed. My account was just suspended as I was talking to you guys on TikTok. Now, why was my account suspended? Did you hear me share any misinformation? Did you hear any hate speech come out of my mouth? See, I love it when I do it this way, because it gives you guys an opportunity to see the level of fascism that we're living in, that we're living under in technology, on the internet. This is internet fascism. And so let me go to one of my many backup accounts to continue talking, because now I think that's 2 or 3 of my accounts that have been suspended for either misinformation or hate speech. So, but anyway, we're going to continue. Let me just turn this. Sorry. I'm actually kind of glad that happened with you guys here watching, tuning in. So yeah. So anyway, the next thing I want to talk about the economy, right? Because we have a lot of people who there's a lot of doom and gloom, and they're saying, oh my God, the sky is falling. And I just want you guys to hear just some commentary from Ken Langone. I don't know if you guys know who Ken Langone is. Do you guys know who he is? He's the guy who he's one of the co-founders of Home Depot. And if you live here in New York City, you know NYU Langone, you know the health center, the hospital, you know that's named after him. They've donated a lot of money, a lot of philanthropy, super multi-billionaire who has been very, very critical of Donald Trump. And I want you to hear some of what he had to say when he was on the Squawk Box today. And this is a guy who's anti-Trump. He was pissed off about the tariffs. He was pissed off about all of so many of the policies that Donald Trump was touting. This guy was against it. And he also said, I think that Donald Trump was going to weaponize the government against his political enemies. He said all of these things. But I want you to hear what he had to say today on the Squawk Box.
Look, let me tell you right now, I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
That is a real turnaround because you didn't want to vote for him.
I tell you the reason. I want to tell you, I'm a believer. What I'm seeing happening is absolutely nothing short of a great thing. And there's a beat. People are walking with more bounce in there. It's all around.
I gave you quite a bit of grief.
Huh?
I gave you grief.
You give me grief?
I gave you grief when it was a binary choice. You're still complaining about Trump and it was a binary choice. It's like, are you kidding me?
Knowledge implies one thing. When you made a mistake, admit it.
Okay.
I think this guy is turning out to be a president.
Right.
One of the pilots on that miraculous trip to Iran that we wiped out, whatever the hell we wiped out,
Right.
he said, you're the
flight.
only guy that in the presidency that would have done what you did. One of the pilots said that.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's probably right.
So I played that because I wanted you really to focus on the one thing that he said. He said, when you make a mistake, you admit it. And that's one of the, that's probably the biggest problem that I see with us today. No one is willing to make a mistake, to admit that they made a mistake. No one is willing to open their mind to possibly changing their position after being introduced to new information. And I think that is something that has been indoctrinated into us, a mindset that we are the masters of our own universe, and whatever truth we deem is just going to be serve as the objective truth. We've decided that however we view the world is how everyone else must view the world, and no one is willing to admit that they're wrong. And I think we have to learn that it's okay to agree with people that we normally disagree with. That's just common sense. When someone, it's okay. It's okay to have conversations with people that you're not used to talking to. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, we all have shared interests. So just because somebody on the right believes something, it doesn't mean that you have to say, oh, no, I'm against it. All because a Republican said it. Because that's all I've seen since Donald Trump came down that escalator. It's just been steady, nonstop Trump derangement syndrome. And that's really sad. That's really scary, because we're supposed to be way more intelligent than this. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually I'm sharing my live on TikTok to some of my followers. I mean, I'll probably get suspended again, but whatever. It's okay. It doesn't bother me. Yeah. So yeah, and I also wanted you to hear what else Langone had to say, because the guy knows what he's talking about. All right. He definitely knows what he's talking about. So I just want you guys to hear just a little bit of the things that he had to say.
If I told you how bullish I was, you wouldn't believe it. I have never been more excited.
By the way, we're talking economic policy here, right? Because one of the things that I've seen so much from us is that we're so hyper emotional when it comes to politics that we're willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you have to look at the policies, folks, and look at how those policies are impacting the United States. The public are impacting us financially, as far as national security. So I just want you to just listen objectively. Just try.
About the future of America than I am right now. Right
Why?
this time. For a lot of reasons. Number one, like it or not, this guy's getting things done.
This guy meeting President Donald Trump.
Trump. He's
Isn't it funny? He looks like it pains him to say that. Look how his head is hanging. Like it or not, this guy's he's getting things done. He looks so disappointed to say that. That's Ken Langone, the co-founder of Home Depot, billionaire, and also he's like big in the medical industry. NYU Langone is named after him and his wife. But yeah, so let's keep going. Let's hear what else he had to say.
he's a little pissed off at me because I had the audacity to say that on television about a few months ago that I was worried about it. If he won, that he'd engage in retribution. I'm happy to say I'm comfortable he's not doing that. He's acting presidential. I'm impressed with the people he's got around him. I had a nice chat with Kevin Warsh last week, and part of my positivity comes from my discussion with him. And you might have heard him on television. I think the American people are waking up. I think the world is a mess, but I think it's coming more to our direction than it was. I think that strike in Iran had significant symbolic meaning for the world, that America's here, and when our interests are at risk, we're going to do something about it. On the other hand, I'm terribly, terribly disturbed with the anti-Semitism that's going on in America, particularly.
Okay, this is where he's going to start talking about Zohran Mamdani. Yeah, so I think Ken Langone is a New Yorker. Yeah, he's a New Yorker. So yeah, so I just wanted you guys to hear his perspective on that, just to get a little bit of clarity on things. Now, some people are going. Where did I see? Okay, so no, I'm going to talk about this next. So the big beautiful bill, I still haven't gotten to go through it yet. Hold on, let me get myself back on camera. I'm here talking. I'm not even on camera. So the big beautiful bill, I've been, hearing a lot of complaints about it, but every time, I go to check to verify, most of the things that people are telling me are not true. And so now, while I did not like them raising the debt ceiling so much, I also understand, the hedging, so to speak, that is being done through that bill with all of the revenue that is coming into the country to somewhat offset raising that ceiling in certain areas, and also the various cuts that that were introduced in that bill and the cuts that are to come in future legislation. But one of the biggest benefits that we see in the big beautiful bill, honestly, it's the tax cuts. And the people who are going to benefit from this are everyday Americans. And so it gets so confusing to me when I hear so many Democrats tell me how horrible it is, and you're going to kick everybody off of SNAP benefits and the mother with her children and this. First of all, that's a lie. Just read the bill. That's a lie. I don't understand. Listen, if you are able-bodied between the ages, I think it's of 18 and, oh God, I can't remember the age. It might be like 60 or 62, something like that. But if you're able-bodied and you don't have any dependent children, then if you're able-bodied and don't have any dependent children, that's where they're doing that. It's work requirement. They're calling it a work requirement, but it's not even necessarily a work requirement. It's not like you have to work for any specific person. First of all, it's only requiring that you work 80 hours a month. That's basically saying that you're being productive in society. And you don't even have to work. You can be doing volunteer work. You can be in school. So in other words, it's just saying, listen, if you're able-bodied, if you're healthy, not on disability, don't have dependent children, and you want to be able to get free health care and free food and benefits, occupy your time 20 hours out of the week, part-time. Does that sound unreasonable? That doesn't sound unreasonable to me at all. I think that would sound unreasonable to people who feel entitled to just tax benefits or taxes. Like, I don't understand how people can be upset with that. And I think all the fear mongering is just continuing to pour into this Trump derangement syndrome, and people aren't actually looking at the bill or looking at the information. So there was a study that was done. It was, let me see who it was from. Well, actually, if you go to the White House website, they published a map on basically the various states. So you can go there. Let me see if I can find it. All right. So if you go to the house, the White House website, it's at whitehouse.gov/OBBB. That's one big beautiful bill, right? Go to the White House website, and there's an interactive map where it can show you like the impact of these taxes on who you are, where you live, and it breaks it down. But I'm gonna just go over some of the information that I see here, because the interactive map, it focuses on data such as real wage increases, which are understood as the increase to a worker's income after accounting for inflation, a family's expected real take-home pay increase, and how many seniors benefit from the no tax on Social Security. Because y'all know it's no tax on Social Security, it's no tax on tips. I think it's up to like $25,000, the deductions. And what else is it? No tax on overtime. Is that what it is? Yeah. So let's go through it. Well, if you're in California, the nation's most populated state, residents can expect a real wage increase due to this bill of $4,900 to $8,800, and a real take-home pay increase of between $8,500 and $12,500 for a typical family with 2 children. Let's go down to Nebraska. You want to go, or let's go to the East Coast. Because I'm in New York. So residents of New Jersey can expect real wage increases of $5,000 to $9,000, and a real take-home pay increase of approximately between $8,600 to $12,700 for typical families with 2 children. What else? So the bill includes key provisions to permanently establish individual and business tax breaks included in the 2017, the TCJA. So like there's a lot of good stuff in there. I would just suggest that folks just go and read it. Like, don't just watch the scary stories that your favorite pundits are screaming and yelling about. I would just ask that you guys just go to the website. You can go to congress.gov and you can just go look at the bill itself. That's something that a lot of people are just not doing. You see, I like to just go and look at the bill. The only reason why I even read that to you guys is because I'm familiar with a lot of this. But I would just say, don't even default to the articles, right? Don't default to the articles, because when you default to the articles, what are you getting? You're just getting somebody else's opinion, right? I mean, we know that. Every article you read is just someone else's interpretation of what you could already read yourself. So I would always recommend that you guys go to the source information. And because I like to go to the source to get my information, that's why I'm privy to the amount of lies that are regularly being told to the American people, whether it's coming from right-wing or left-wing media. There's a lot of lies. It's propaganda. And you guys are we're being so propagandized, and we have no idea. It's so bad that we just don't even know what the real information is anymore. And so I would just suggest you got to find someone who is going to be honest with you and objective and unbiased. Well, you're never going to be able to find someone who's completely unbiased, but you want someone who is willing to look at the facts and recognize it and say it as it is, right? Now, they can always add a perspective. Personally, I don't even call that news if someone's adding their freaking opinion to it. I don't need your opinion. I need the news. I need the actual information, what it is, so I can determine if it's good or bad for myself. Now, if you need those sorts of people to translate for you or to give you a more balanced perspective, you got to listen to people like me, to be honest. But there's a news, you can go to, what is it called? Drop Site News. Is that the name of it? Oh my God, I wish I had the name of it. I think it's called Drop Site News, where what they do is they tally all of the different news media platforms, whether they're on the left or the right, and they put it together, and they're giving you all the perspectives, and they have this way of like gauging a meter to say, well, 65% of the left is reporting this way and 35% is it breaks it down so you can see in real time the bias that is being presented to you and the majority sentiment that is coming from either side, or just what is being reported down the middle. So I think that would be a good idea. Let me make sure that I have the name of it right, because I want to make, yeah, it's Drop Site News. All right. So yeah, the name of it is Drop Site News. So let's go to this now. Now we're going to talk about, I'm almost done. We're going to talk about the Department of Education that everyone is so outraged about. You know, Donald Trump is getting rid of the Department of Education. It's not even really actually getting rid of it as the way most of us understand it. But let's hear what he has to say. And you know, he kind of has an articulation problem, but let's just hear what he says when asked about it. All right, let's hear it, Mr. Trump.
We had a big win with the Supreme Court on the Department of Education. We want, as you know, we want to bring education back to the states, take the federal government out of it. A little tiny bit of supervision, but very little, almost nothing, like to make sure they speak English.
Did you hear what he just said? Little tiny bit of supervision, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You see, I think what people think is that because he's dismantling the bureaucracy and the Department of Education, getting rid of all of the unnecessary administrative costs and the unnecessary employees, the over bloated department, they assume that it's just going to disappear. No, it's not. But, you know, the certain tasks that have been delegated to the Department of Education do not have to be funneled through the Department of Education. And so it's more of a consolidation where you don't have to be spending all this money unnecessarily. It's the same thing that Donald Trump did with the what was it? The like the pandemic biohazard, whatever the thing was that Barack Obama, remember he created this like panel or an agency to handle so-called pandemics just before the pandemic happened, right? And everybody was like, oh, Donald Trump, he destroyed it, he dismantled it, and that's what happened with COVID. Well, that's not what happened, because the people were just moved over to different areas, like the National Security Council. So the same people who were, you know, the executives and leading in that department, they were just transferred over, so you did not have all of the extra unnecessary employment. And that's basically what we're seeing here with the Department of Education. I don't remember how much of the money was being spent on, let's call it administrative costs, but I know it was a lot. It was a hell of a lot. And so if we're talking about for our meals, it could be handled through the Department of Agriculture, I think. If it's going to be student loans, that could be handled through the Treasury. You get what I'm saying? So let's stop with the doom and gloom. But anyway, let's let him finish.
It's about all we need. Well, we have school choice, and we're getting school choice approved all over the country. We just got it done in Texas, and school choice is the answer. Yes.
So, school choice. You know, we talk about school choice, and I notice a lot of people on the left, they are so against school choice. And I really want to hear these arguments, right, that people have against school choice, especially with the knowledge that our education system, our public education system, is failing abysmally ever since it was created. I mean, we have been on a steady decline in education. We are lagging behind the rest of all of the other industrialized countries in the world. Of the G7, we're last. Of the G20, we're last. Of the bottom 41, we're 41. It's just, it doesn't make any sense how we can present or tout the Department of Education in this country as a success after all of these decades of it being in existence, and then get upset when we know it's a failure and Donald Trump is saying we're going to need to dismantle this whole thing and put more power back into the hands of the people, because that's the one common thing that I continue to hear. It is, we're going to give you your rights. And this is the scary thing for me and this is probably one of the reasons, well, this is definitely one of the reasons why I decided that I could no longer be on the left anymore. I could no longer be a Democrat, especially if I was to consider myself a critical thinker, because far too many of the policies that Democrats push, it pushes for more control over my life. That's probably the easiest layman's way of explaining that. Democrats push for more government control over your life. Republicans or conservatives, MAGA, whoever you want to call them, they want less government imposition in their lives. And even with what Donald Trump is just talking about right here with school choice in the Department of Education, he's not saying, oh, poof, get rid of it, nothing. No, still going to get your student loans, still going to have the IEP plan, still going to have the meal plans, still going to have all of those. You're going to still have it. But the federal government should have a small but important role in our lives. Your politics that impact you the most are where? On the local level, in your municipality, in your city, in your state. That is where you have someone asked, what does school choice mean? It means that you have a choice other than public school for your child. So the funding would be allocated to other areas, private schools, Montessori schools, parents who want to educate their children at home, homeschooling. I don't know if it's in the bill, but I know one of the things that Donald Trump was pushing was giving vouchers to parents who wanted to homeschool their kids. I think up to like $10,000 or something like that. Shit. Do y'all know homeschool children? Now, some of them may be socially awkward because they're being educated at home, but there are ways of doing that where you can still introduce them to a social life. But all of the homeschool children that I know, brilliant, smartest kids ever. Parents who homeschool their children, bro, their children are getting ahead. And so, I mean, Montessori schools, there are different sorts of schools that you now have. You will now have a choice. You'll have more control over your child's education, as opposed to just defaulting to a public school system that continuously makes decisions on your behalf without your consent on the things that they're going to put into your child's brain. Now, I'm not talking about math or reading or things of that nature, but there's become a lot of indoctrination in our public school system that many parents have a problem with, including myself. And we have to deal with that. And a lot of that indoctrination came by way of federal policies that were passed or pushed under the guise of anti-discrimination. And a lot of that stuff was done through executive order. And this is why I say we're in this huge mess, because a lot of the things that were presented to us as good for us, it destroyed us academically. It destroyed us educationally. Like No Child Left Behind. Remember that? Even people don't understand, like changing even with the standards for the standardized testing and getting rid of certain sorts of tests and this and that. Oh, these tests are racist. Black children are too dumb to understand this on the SAT, so we need to recalibrate it so it's not racist. And that's the thing that's so annoying to me. When I took the SAT, that shit wasn't racist. I did great. Wasn't racist. I didn't see it as racist. Now everything is racist. And because they have decided that everything is racist, you have now lowered the bar. You haven't tried to pull other kids up. No, you dragged all of the brilliant, the children who excel, you're dragging them down to meet a lower standard. Where is the incentive for innovation? Where's the incentive to try harder, to invent something, to achieve, to be the best that you can be, when every policy you push brings the bar down lower under the guise of giving a helping hand? Because that's the common theme that I always see when it comes to Democrat politics. Let's pull everybody else down here. Let's not elevate anyone else. Let's not incentivize anyone else to maybe work harder, give them some ideas that they can be more economically empowered. I don't hear that. All I hear is, come on, let's give them more free stuff, or let's make this more affordable. Now, yes, you want things affordable, but how are you going to make things affordable? Because we know inflation is very real. We know wages have not caught up to inflation at the proper rate, even though it's a lot of that has to do with the devaluation of our money. Joe Biden past 4 years, cumulative rate of inflation around 22% throughout his presidency. We forgot about that. And I think it's even higher than that, because I think $1 that you had in 2019 is now worth 78 cents. Actually, let me fix that, because y'all gonna try to say, oh, but you're COVID. No, it wasn't COVID. Because in 2021, between 2021 and today, your dollar back then is worth about 80 cents. No, 78 cents. No, I'm right. It's 78 cents. Joe Biden did that. Democrats did that. So like what's the excuse? I'm tired of always feeling like I have to fall in line with politics under the guise of virtue that is going to continue to disincentivize people from working harder. Oh, why do you want those people who are healthy and don't have children to have to do something with themselves for 20 hours a week, whether it be volunteer or work or go to school, in order to justify them getting free health care and free SNAP benefits? What's wrong with that? I thought that welfare was supposed to be a system to help people get over a hump. Isn't that what it's supposed to be? A leg up, a catapult, something to help you get out of your situation. Why are we pushing policies that are making people more comfortable being poor? Like Zohran Mamdani. Why is it that the Democratic Party is going closer and closer to communism at every turn? Well, I know why. Because of all the corruption in this government from the uniparty. But the one thing that I see is that people who are more conservative, they tend to, and I hate the two-party conversation, but I just think that the left, I think Democrats have just gone so freaking radical that they've gone insane. That's the honest truth. And I think we're seeing a shift in the party system. I'm speaking ideologically now. I think a lot of people have always said, oh, there was a switch between the Democrats and Republicans. That's a lie. That's a complete lie. There was no party switch. But I am seeing an ideological shift today. And that shift is coming towards the center. So the people on the right, I'm actually seeing them move more towards the left. Center left, not center left, but they're moving more to the left. I'm not saying they're leftists, but I'm saying they're moving more to the left, going closer to center. And I'm seeing Democrats who have been so far left moving more to the right. So everyone is moving closer to the center, which is the area that I call common sense. That's literally what it is. Common sense. But the only problem is everyone is so dogmatic and rabid in their politics and vitriolic and dogmatic. They're attacking you if you don't follow the mob, if you don't fall in line with the group. And that's the problem. Most people aren't, listen, I know a lot of Democrats that voted for Donald Trump, but they were just too afraid to say so. I know Democrats who, they vote Democrat all the time, but their lives are being destroyed by the Democrat Party and they still vote Democrat, which to me is the craziest thing. Their lives are literally being destroyed by Democrat policies. But I hate Trump. I could never vote for him. I could never vote for a Republican. They're racists. Bro, look, somebody in my TikTok just came in, okay, Uncle Tom. See, that's the lowest common denominator of intellect that I'm talking about on social media. And it's not even just social media, but our politics today, it appeals to the lowest common denominator of a brain. The people who love to go into the comment section and they try to attack black people for not spewing the typical white liberal orthodoxy. Use Uncle Tom. And the funny thing is, that I'm pretty sure that probably wasn't even a black person that said that. I'm pretty sure that was a white liberal who said that. That's what they do now. They create these faceless profiles and they go around calling all the black folks who walked away from the Democrat Party every racial name in the book to shame them for leaving the Democrat Party. I don't like to use the term plantation, but they do have that overseer of a plantation mindset. Absolutely. They believe that they own us. They own black people and they own the black vote. They own the black brain. And they do this by constantly trying to manipulate us emotionally. And they also do it by trying to not only emasculate our men, tell our women that we are the enemy, but also prop up our women in a way to create this matriarchy, this matriarchal environment within the black community where black women must lead, listen to her, and all black men shut the hell up. Tell me I'm lying. These people are your enemies, but you don't see it. Let me show this because this is actually a good comment. They have always told us they are for the working man. How many of y'all believe that? Because I know I was always told that Democrats were for working people and poor, and Republicans were for the rich. You know, when I was first, and listen, we know how black people, listen, bro, you grew up in this country, black American, if you black, you vote Democrat. That's just what we've been told from the time we were 17, 18 years old. Now just put in Democrat. Republicans are racist and they're only for rich people. Democrats, they're for poor people. And I used to always be like, hold on, I don't want to be poor. I want to be rich. So the way they espouse their politics, it's in a way to convince people that they will forever have roadblocks ahead of them and they will always be right where they are, poor. And that's the problem. And then they continue to virtue signal to try to present all of these arguments to you. Oh, bad person, because shaming is the way that they do their politics. And it's worked so, and the thing that's so messed up about it is, the problem that we're in is not because of Democrats. I'm talking about the economic problem we're in today. It's not because of Democrats. It's because of the establishment. That's Democrat and Republican. It's because of both Democrats and Republicans, the Uniparty, the pro-war party, the pro-corporation, ultra corporation, the crony capitalism is what happened and what destroyed us, this oligarchy that we've created. But most people they're misrepresenting that as capitalism. That's not free market capitalism as it should exist. But what happens when you spend so much time robbing people of opportunity and taking advantage of them and consolidating wealth at the top while ignoring the concern, while buying off politicians? Remember, because our elected officials, they're bought off. They're either bought off or they're bribed or they're blackmailed. But they don't answer to, they're not answering to us. They're not. So what happens? You wind up ignoring the American citizens and you pour into this two-class system that we're getting closer to every single day. And what happens? Then you see the rise of candidates like Bernie Sanders, who I once supported, based in a lot of outrage and emotion, because that's the thing about populist candidates, right? They speak to the feelings, the sentiments of the population. They really know how to hit people in the feels. You know what I'm saying? And it galvanizes people. But one thing that I realized, especially after watching Bernie Sanders and how he just sold out his whole entire movement and bent the knee to the establishment and showed that he was just like everybody else, and went from talking about billionaires and millionaires to billionaires because he's a millionaire now, I understood that these people are full of shit. And what happens now? The same younger generation that we have betrayed and left in this mud, they're fed up. They're making more money than we ever did. I'm Gen X. Listen, millennials and Gen Z, they're making more money than we ever did. But can they afford a home, though? No. Can they even afford to live in their own apartment without sharing it with someone, having roommates? No, not here in New York City. We have betrayed them. And that's when you see the rise of candidates like Zohran Mamdani, who stepped in at a very convenient point for himself in the midst of outrage amongst this younger generation, who came out in record numbers and voted for him, by the way, based on the fatigue that we just that our young people and they have with just working so hard and not seeing anything in return, nothing coming back from the fruit of all of their efforts. They're tired of seeing the vitriol and the hate that they've actually been indoctrinated into, and they don't even see it. But they're largely in a position where they feel like no matter what they do, they cannot get ahead. And so, since I can't get ahead, anything will work. We'll try anything right now. And therein lies the danger. Because socialism sounds beautiful. Trust me, sounds beautiful to someone who's broke, someone who's struggling, someone who's in, let's say, a dead-end job, or they don't own it, they don't own a business, they don't own a home, they don't own anything, they don't even see the possibility of ownership or building wealth. No, socialism sounds great. Whew, we're gonna just give everything free. All right, it's gonna be free. All right, cool. Oh, what are we gonna do? Redistribution of wealth. We're gonna take all the money from those evil rich people and give it to us. Share it all out, dole it all out. All of the fruit of the hard work of the people who make more than us. No. We're just going to create a classless society. Tony, how much you got? Wait, Tony, how much you got? You got, wait, you made what? 2 million last year? Listen, I only made 40,000. Now, you have to give us some of that. And we're all going to have to share that out. That's socialism. Oh, you know what? Let's give them free childcare. Let's give them free baby strollers. Who's paying for this, folks? I got it. Government-owned grocery stores. Whoa, hold on. We're going to seize the means of production. Hey, that's communism. Does nobody know what communism is? We're going to decommodify housing. We're going to buy up the private property, some of which I own. We're going to buy up the private properties and we're going to turn it into community housing. Oh, so you want to create new projects for everybody. Bro, y'all don't know what y'all getting into in New York, bro. I'm already on my way out. So listen, the writing is on the wall. And I hate that our young people feel so betrayed, but I can tell you this. And Zohran Mamdani seems like a nice guy. But I will tell you, the greatest damage is often done with the best intentions. And I'm not even sure that he has the best intentions, to be honest with you, because Zoran Mamdani comes from privilege. He has two very wealthy parents. He's a trust fund kid. He's a Nepo baby. He doesn't know what it's like to struggle, be poor. He doesn't know our struggle. So why is it that it's always these rich people that have all the answers for the poor people through the lens of making us more comfortable in poverty? Does nobody see that? Why not try to put people in a position to make more money, to keep up with the rising cost of inflation? What? No, we're going to freeze rent. Wait, what? What about the owners? Because all I see from his policies, and to be fair, the Democrat Party, are policies that are hostile to ownership. Now, when you start to see it through that lens, I think you guys will start to understand the game. You'll start to understand the hustle. Democrats are very, very good at attacking ownership. If you build wealth, if you own anything, you are going to be so hyper-regulated that it's as if you don't even own it. You making money? Now we need a piece of that. Wait, what? You own a house? Nope. Violations. We need more rules, more regulations on you. What you do with your home? Wait, you own a car? Wait, you're not going to take our public transportation that we want you to pay for? You own a car? Oh, hell no. Speed cameras, every other block, red light cameras, cameras everywhere. Put cameras on buses too, while also decreasing the amount of lanes that they can drive in. Get rid of all parking as well. Let's subject them all to fines. How dare you own something and you're not paying me for it? You own something? Are you crazy? Wait, you own a business? Oh, no. We need more permits. We need more license. Nope. Regulations. Nope. Fines. Wait, what's that? You selling jerk chicken? You got a grill on the sidewalk and you out here selling a plate? Oh, no. Take all that. Take the grill. Take the food. No. You better go down and get yourself a license, and you better make sure that you're paying us the $10,000 you need for this. No. We are so. Oh, wait, what? You want to come into Manhattan from Brooklyn? Oh, no. $9. Pay up. You want to travel on free land? No, you're going to pay us. This is your Democrat Party, and this is why you see so many people in poverty in these Democrat-run big cities. This is why you see the hugest disparities in wealth in Democrat-run cities, but yet they blame Republicans for everything. How long are y'all going to keep falling for this scam? How many Republicans are destroying your lives in New York City, black people? Tell me. Where's your Republican city council member or assemblyman or mayor? Where is that Republican that's destroying your life in your community, making it harder for you to afford to live there? Can anybody answer that? Because the only pushback I ever see is, well, Republicans are racist. Guess what? What do you think white liberals are? It was only when I started to question my white liberal allies and say, hey, slow down. Some of these policies that you're pushing, it's hurting our communities. Like, could you slow down? Like bail reform? Listen, hold on, wait. You don't have to get rid of bail for like damn near everything. Like, look what's happening. Now they're changing the arrestable offenses. Like, hold on, they're dumping everybody back out into our communities. Crime is going up. You guys are bringing drugs into the communities, like the needles, the what do you call that? The safe injection sites, putting them in my neighborhood. More shelters, more halfway houses, more drug rehab centers. I don't see them going in Bensonhurst and Park Slope. I don't see them in Cobble Hill. I see them in East New York. I see them in Brownsville. Black neighborhoods for those who aren't in New York. And then when I go to my white liberal ally friends and I say, hey, can we just re-examine this? You're going too fast. You're not listening to us. Oh, you're so divisive, Tony. Whoa, what you mean I'm divisive? I'm telling you about our lived experience in our community. What you're doing, what you're fighting for is destroying us, and it is even ruining our access to. Oh, you're a racist. This is what the white liberals say to you whenever you challenge them in their racist policies. You're the racist, black man. Why are you so aggressive? Why are you so angry? Why are you going to hit me? You're so violent. And y'all got the nerve, bro. And that's why it's so crazy to me when I see black Democrats going into the comment section talking about, oh, you Uncle Tom, dumb ass. Uncle Tom was a hero in the story, fool. You're looking for the word Sambo. But even to see this shit from your own people who will question your blackness based upon your unwillingness to fall in line with white liberals. Because that's who runs the Democrat Party. What, black people, you think y'all running the Democrat Party? Oh, hell no. Hell no. It's these organizations like the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. Listen, you think we don't see the transplants that's coming up in our neighborhoods here in New York City, in the outer boroughs, who's coming up in here, gentrifying us out of our communities? They move in. They buy up the properties. They raise the rents. They call the police on you when you're just outside in your neighborhood, sitting outside talking to some friends, or maybe you're like your culture, your neighborhood where you've lived for 30, 40 years. You got these transplants. They come in. Hey guys, hi, how are you? Let me do this for you. Let me sweep up in front of your house. Hold on, my house ain't dirty. I don't need you over here. Hold on, let me plant some flowers in front of your gate, in front of your yard. This looks so much better like this. Hold on. You got some brothers at the barbershop laughing. You know the barbershop is the community. Oh, why are there 3 guys out there talking so loud? Police. This is what y'all do. They come in. They invade your neighborhoods, then they call the police on you, and they do everything. They treat you like you're a visitor, an unwanted guest in your community. Until, bro, it's so crazy how gentrification works. I'm gonna do a live to break down the process of gentrification and the scam of liberal politics on black people, at least in New York City. Because they're literally pushing you out. And they're shaming you for questioning it. They come in to your neighborhoods. They do everything to kick you out your neighborhood. And then they replace you with a nice, tidy Black Lives Matter sign in their window or on their front door. That's white liberal politics 101. So stop falling for the scam, folks. I'm back. Tony L is back. They're probably going to be banning me on these social media platforms for being too honest. But I think it's time that the unheard finally get a voice. And I know I'm one of those unheard. There are a hell of a lot of people who have just been, they've been ignored. They've been bullied into silence. They've been shamed into silence. And they just felt like they just had to kind of sit back and just watch. But don't sit back and watch while the world is being lit on fire. We all have a responsibility to stand up and speak up. Don't be afraid. These people can't do shit to you. Build up that courage and start to embrace your own voice because it is powerful. And you know how we saw that? We saw that on November 5th, 2024. Don't let these people trick you out of your opinion and trick you out of your common sense, because that is what is happening in our politics today. So whether it makes you uncomfortable in the moment or not, never be afraid to espouse your own opinion. And likewise, never be afraid to question things. You must question everything. It's your moral responsibility to question everything that you are told and everything that you are taught. You don't have to disagree necessarily, but you must question it. Otherwise, you're nothing more than a mouthpiece for someone else's point of view or their agenda. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. It has been a pleasure once again. I am Tony Lindsay, and this is We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. Peace.